Good morning, everyone. How is everyone doing? Let me get some things sorted here, and we'll get going. Let's see. Why am I here myself? Morning, Daniel. Hi, you two. Good to have you all on board here. I have a new screen, new monitor, and I'm trying to figure out if that's the reason why I'm hearing myself as well. One second here. Okay, that's better at least. Can you still hear me? Okay, now I know. Sorry about that. Don't watch yourself on Twitch while you stream. That's a bad idea. Cool. All right. Welcome everyone. Good morning. Sorry about that delay here. Good to have you here. I'm wearing my awesome T-shirt here from John earlier. I see John, you're on the line as well. I love this shirt. This is going to be my new streaming shirt. I'm not going to wear anything else than this T-shirt on my streams. We'll see how long it lasts. So, the virtual MLNet conference is wrapped up. It was awesome. Thank you all for joining. I know that Daniel definitely joined, John and you too. I saw you as well in the chat there. That's fantastic. Thank you very much for doing that. I appreciate that. I know John appreciates that as well. It was something that we wanted to put together for a long time. We worked really hard for getting things lined up, and we are so thrilled that it went so well to do that. And you may have already received an email this morning as well from me and John. We sent out an email that the recordings are now up. So if you want to take those recordings down or watch them or anything else, they should be available for you to watch. So I know, Daniel, your presentation is up already. So definitely check that out. That's exciting. I had a lot of people reach out to me and John that they wanted to see the recording. So I think there's a big interest for them, for those who couldn't attend all the sessions. So that's great. Yeah, you did a great job, Daniel. Thank you for speaking at the conference. So that should be good. Is it something happening with the stream, or is it working correctly? I'm hoping it will work correctly. Cool. Well, what are the things you want to see in the future getting done when it comes to I guess the community around ML.net? Do you want to have a hackathon going forward? Do you want to have another conference in the fall? What kind of things should we be looking at to make sure that we stimulate the community and keep building on this? We definitely, yeah, good, both. We'll definitely make sure that we will do the community Slack. It will stay open, so please connect there. I think it's a great way to just connect with people that have the same interest. So stay tuned there. We will make sure we keep doing that. So that's good. All right. Well, I've had a very busy morning this morning, and it's been fun. But I've been looking forward to getting back to contributing to MLOps.net and just kind of hanging out with you all. I got my coffee ready, and I got my setup done, and I have two screens now, so hopefully I can both monitor the chat as well as do some coding. So what I want us to continue looking at today is all these things here with let's see, lock this one, with MLOps.net. So we started working on this maybe 2 weeks ago now. Time really flies here, and I'm really excited to see a lot of people helping out here. I know that Daniel, you and I had lots of discussions last night about various things, which is great. So we're going to continue looking at that. And I also know that AJ here, I think it's called AJ, at least was the name in the Slack channel, Anoyar. He's also opening PR actually for some of the work. So we can definitely have an open discussion on things we want to do in a roadmap, because I would love your input on this. But I thought we can kind of just start to get our hands dirty a bit here and start by reviewing AJ's PR actually, kind of see what he's done here. So the thing AJ did, I think last night or a few hours ago here, was that he went ahead and tried to look at issue number 9 here. So if you look at issue number 9, what he wants to do is create this overload here for Azure Blob Storage. So instead of passing in, if you look at the code as it is right now here, when we create our lifecycle manager here, we pass in the connection string directly, and we instantiate this storage account metadata store that we use for our Azure connection, which is awesome. But going forward, right, we want to have this work both locally, but also we want it to work on like a file storage on in the cloud or in AWS or something else. So we need to separate out this kind of constructor. And the way I wanted to do it, and I would prefer suggestions here, is to have an extension method that can do this. So AJ started that initiative. I want to continue it later. And what I want to do here is I want one project here for the general functionality, like the interfaces and stuff. And I want another package here for like the Azure implementation. So what I'm thinking here is like mlops.net.azure and then mlops.net.local or something like that. And each of these implementations can kind of go into those buckets. Does that make sense? I'm leaving the floor open for you all. Cool. So I definitely want to do more things than what we did here with AJ's PR, but I think it's a great start. So I'm actually going to just approve it and merge it, even though I reviewed it. Because what he did here was just create this overload here. So he moved the instantiation of the storage account meta store here to his own method, which is like a use Azure store and return this, so you can kind of chain them together. So this is a great start once we kind of want to move forward here with these things. So I will go ahead and approve this PR and leave him a note here. Merge this. Okay. Comments. And merge. Perfect. So with that, we had a third contributor jump in here. So we have Luis now, we have AJ. So if you want to continue contributing as well, definitely tune in here. So for those who are tuning in, I guess, early now and haven't really seen much of this work yet, what we're trying to do here is build our own open source tool for MLOps in .NET here. So we want to log our artifacts, we want to register our metrics, we want to make sure we have a place for our experiments and runs and so forth, so we can kind of coordinate that ourselves. And the way we're currently doing it is that we have a storage account in Azure, and we have tables in a NoSQL database for each of these things here. So currently we have 3 tables. We have an experiment table where we have the name of the model itself, I guess. So in our case, what we're trying to do is, we're trying to create a simple binary authenticator. We call it review predictor. So we have a general name for that kind of model or that experiment. And under each of these different experiments, we then have runs. So each time we train the model, we get a run. So we get multiple runs under one experiment. And each run has associated metrics. So for example, we may want to track the accuracy or the F1 score or something else that is important for us when we do this. So that's kind of the metadata, and we definitely want to continue working on that to make sure we have a stable API here. So for example, if we train a model here, what we'll be doing here is creating the lifecycle manager, doing the runs, experiments, so forth, and then passing in the information to the right place. So that's really awesome, really cool stuff. But now we should keep building on this. So I'm going to first pull AJ's changes locally, and then I think we should decide on what we want to continue working on. Do you all have something you are dying that we start working on? If so, let me know. I think before we jump into that, let's do some housekeeping here. One thing I wanted to do was simply create a batch here for our build commits here to make sure our status looks good. And yeah, we can definitely talk about the web client, Daniel. I was thinking about leaving that a little bit later, but let's draw the architecture. I think the architecture is a good idea, because I guess what we want to do here is make sure that we can all kind of contribute together, right, and work on this. And I think you are definitely interested in working on the web client, so that's awesome. So let's do that. But first, before we do that, let's create the bash. So we have that done. So I want to have a batch on this workflow. Default branch, copy status batch, copied. Let's put this in a README file. So we have the current build status here. Okay, cool. That looks a bit more professional. That's awesome. Yeah, okay, let's look at the web API architecture. I think that makes sense to at least kind of flesh out what I'm envisioning, and we can talk about what we think there. I do want to kind of make sure we don't go too ahead of us there, because that's something we can definitely... I think it will have the risk of changing. But with that, it doesn't hurt to have a look at it. So I'm going to use Visio, because I think it's just easier. So let's create a Visio diagram here. So I will kind of quickly add up what I'm thinking. Sorry. And I would love your input and your thoughts on this, and see if there's something that you want to change. So what I'm thinking here is a simple web API here, RESTful. So we will skip the gRPC for now and just make it simple. On top of that, what I'm thinking is a simple Blazor app. I guess we could do a web, what is called, web client version of it, so it's completely offline. That would be pretty cool, I think. So let's do that on top. And then what I'm thinking is that once we have this, it could go to a SQL database here. Actually, storage doesn't really matter. So we have storage in Azure, right? We have potentially have a database here, a local database, whatever that is, and we'll see. Yeah, I can do that user too. That's a good idea to add an architecture of that in the repo in some ways. And yes, we can do WebAssembly. Yes, absolutely. That's the idea. Would love someone to contribute to this. So what I'm thinking is that this here is going to be the kind of the web API. So we will have multiple stores, right? So we may want to connect to Azure to get these things. We may want to connect to AWS or local, depending on what we support, but we still want these. And so we want some kind of RESTful API. So we can either call this without Blazor if we want to automate some processes, or we want to use Blazor on top with like a nice client. But what I'm envisioning after that is that we take this lovely thing and we make sure we bring this to the front, or not a fill. No fill. So we take this whole compartment here that we do, and what we do with this is, let's pin this text. We'll put this in a Docker image. So instead of actually like, we definitely want, you know, this source in GitHub. But what I'm thinking is that what we'll do is just create a Docker image of this build here, and all it's going to take here, it's going to take 2 arguments here, and I'll add them here. Actually, I'll do it here. When you start the Docker image, we will take two things, or actually set two environmental variables on the Docker image itself. Let's think about how we want to do that. But what I'm thinking here is, before I think about the implementation details, is we need to have the type of storage and connection string. So with this I mean Azure, local, AWS, whatever we're going to support eventually. And then we're going to also provide the connection string to whatever that is, or location for the file share or something like that. So by doing that, we can then allow anyone to say, okay, if you want to have a client to train your model, go ahead and download SDK on a NuGet package, and you can kind of integrate that into your workflow and get that all working. And if you then want to visualize the data, all you need to do is pull down a Docker image from a Docker Hub repository or whatever, provide these two settings to this Docker image when you start it up, and then kick it off. And it's going to automatically be able to figure out where to go and what data to visualize. So that should be pretty simple. That's my thoughts. Does it make sense for everyone on the stream? Is there anything you would like to change or add? Or, of course, you want more detail? That would make a lot of sense. Okay, good. Thanks, Daniel. So we definitely, I mean, this is quite a big ticket. I think we probably want to split this up into multiple smaller issues. I personally haven't worked much with Blazor. I would love to get into Blazor, so I also want to help out with this at some point, but I haven't worked much with it. I think it's definitely a separate issue for Docker image composition and making sure that it works properly. There's would it make sense that we have an issue to create underlying structure here? So like someone could do that. Let's see. Yes, user 2. I think the storage thing here is going to be a storage account. So it's going to have both the Cosmos DB and the table storage, and it's going to have the Blazor. Sorry, it's going to have the blob storage for storing the artifacts. So that should be the same connection string to both, I think. We'll see if we need another one, but I don't think so. So I think it makes sense to have one issue to create the underlying Blazor app. That is that's this general thing here, so we can kind of build on top of that, and then we can have multiple issues to build multiple screens in the app and multiple kind of methods to call, right? Does that make sense? Please call me out otherwise, because if so, I think what I want to do is repurpose this ticket that we created here to create a general like structure, like so a Blazor app that is just very basic. That we talked about yesterday, right? I will do this. So what I'm thinking here is that we use this issue here to create a simple Blazor app with so I'm gonna leave it pretty open, I think, just like that, and like that we can create that solution at least to see how that looks like. And then once we have that foundation, we can start adding screens and we can start adding methods to this one to kind of get it fully working and see where it takes us. I think we may want to pivot here a bit as well, and we may want to change direction. But if we have a foundation, we can start with that. Then does that sound good, Daniel? And everyone else on the line? If so, is it okay if I assign this issue to you, Daniel, to do, or do you all want to do it now, I guess? Because what I was thinking we could do otherwise right now is work on continue work on SDK. Okay, Daniel, can we do Web API disconnect from Blazor? I didn't have a chance to work with it. We can definitely do that. I think. I mean, let's look at let's look at the Blazor app here. So I haven't worked much with Blazor, but let's look at Blazor and see kind of what the foundation starts at. We can definitely do that if you want. I think once you create a new project for Blazor, it kind of does both. This is Machine learning streamer after all, right? So we have a Blazor app template here, right? Let's look at that. Let's call it the stat for now. So if I do this, what do I get here? Exactly, yeah. Thanks, Shashi. The two models, server-side and WebAssembly Blazor. And I think what we want to do is the WebAssembly, right? That's kind of the most popular one right now that's just released, I think. And I think I need to update my studio to get this fully functioning. But I think, yeah, I think so too. I think what we want to do here probably is to kind of look at this a little bit separately. So if someone wants to look at the server, the client-side Blazor solution, and see if we can get something up there quickly, that'd be awesome. I'm going to leave it out of this stream because I want to focus more on the machine learning MLOps part. I'm also happy to look at this later, of course. But if it makes sense, Daniel, to have a separate web API, I think that's fine. I do think when you create a Blazor WebAssembly app, it's going to create the backing for you as well. So I do think it makes sense to have it connected in some way, but I'm not sure exactly how right now, so I'm going to leave it. But at least I think we walked through the general concepts of the web client and how it's supposed to be used. So I hope that helps people here on the stream today to get started if you want to do that. But what I was thinking we can do here today instead is, what I want to get to today is potentially, let's see what you're saying, Shashi. The server side uses single R for updating the UI, in this case the browser system client. Okay, so what you're saying is that probably won't be a RESTful API by itself, then we will just use single R instead for all the method calls and those things. Because in that case we probably want to kind of think a little bit on how we want to architect this so we can get as much reuse as possible for our methods. Which is good. It's a great learning opportunity. Alright. Great discussion, guys. I appreciate that. Let's look at that separately and see if we can get started with that later. I think it's a great discussion. But before we can get the web client to work, we also want to make sure we have something to provide for the web client as well, which would be good. I really appreciate the feedback here though and the input. That's really cool. So what I wanted to look at today actually was I would like to get us to a NuGet package as alpha version so you can often use it, and we can integrate that into the review predictor to make sure it actually works properly. But what I want to get to is we haven't yet actually logged the model, right? So we need some way to log the machine learning model that we have done in a run. Right now we only have logged the metrics for the model, which is good. But if the model is good enough for us, we want to store it as well, so we can display it in the UI for the web client or something else. So what I was thinking of doing here for a simple case here is that we're using NoSQL, the table storage here for the metadata, but I would like to put our models here in a blob container. And I was thinking what we can do is we'll create a blob container with the same name as the experiment, and then we can create I guess what we can do then is create a separate model underneath there with the same run ID or something like that. So right now, for example, the row key here is the experiment ID, and the run here, the row key, is the run ID. So that could be a good idea to get started. So I'll let the discussion keep going on Blazor if you want to keep doing that. And I'm going to get started a little bit with this part here to ensure that we keep working on the repo here. But definitely keep the discussion going, guys. So if you look at the use case for us here, how we want to use this, in essence is that once we have logged the metric here to the store here, we also want them to upload the artifact, and that's the model. So you want some way to do that here for going to a blob container, and we can do that by most likely creating a new method here in our version here. So we already have methods in our interface here for creating experiments. creating a run, and logging metrics async. So I think what we should do here is also create a new method here for uploading the model async. So I was thinking something on the lines like this, upload model, or you can call it log model, I guess. And we can see what information it will take, but at least I would assume we'll take the run those things. So, like we did before, let's see. What we did before, I think it makes sense to start with the actual implementation here of the blob storage here, to make sure we get that working. And I'm partially looking at your comments as well, Shashi, because I appreciate the input here. So if you don't want a hosted version, you'll get just a plain Blazor application that is not hosted, more like a static site. Yep, I want to look at that a bit more. So we have a couple of methods here, and let's look at the blob API here, the documentation for this, real quick here. So blob storage, because I'm pretty sure we have SDK for this, and we can probably use that to upload things to the correct place. Alright, let's see. So we have the connection string already. So what I'm thinking is that we probably need some kind of blob client here to get that working. And we probably need upload blob to Azure blob storage. Yes, you just do. That's what I want to do. I want to make sure we create the. Well, I don't want to create that package right now, actually. But do you think that makes more sense to do that right now than uploading this separately? It's a good thought. We could actually do that if you wanted to separate it out into different packages first. Sure, I'm open for suggestions. That probably makes sense actually to separate this out first. Okay. So let's go ahead and work on this architecture a bit and separate this out. So what I was thinking here is a separate new project here for the Azure specific things here. So what we'll do here is we'll do as a class library, and that should be the .NET Standard class library, and we can call this mlops.net Azure, and that's proper place. Perfect. We remove that simple one right there. So what I wanted to do here is I want to keep our interfaces here in here, so it's going to be the same regardless of what storage implementation we are using. But we do need things like this one to go over here. We'll just move it over right now, because this is the actual implementation here. We'll add a new folder for this, call it storage. Put that in there. Let's see, does it change? Let's do that. So now we can have a fun thing here with entities, and the entities here are also specific to Azure in this case. And we had a discussion about that earlier, that those are very specific to Azure. So we need to think of a way how we want to do that in a good way, because we are passing them back and forth here in our interface. But they are specific to Azure because they are table entities. So I think we can of course create a base class here and then overload them for Azure. I think that's a way to go. Does anyone else on the stream today have a good approach for this? So the issue we are running into right now is that we have our common interface and we want to use it for Azure, local and other things. and we're passing back and forth different entities here that are specific to Azure, but they will be similar for other cases, and they are passed from the general. Actually, this one can be removed, I think. They're passed from the general lifecycle manager right here, and this one is the one being called from let's see, from the actual SDK here. So create run. So one way we can do this is that instead of creating the entities here, we'll create them in each package instead. So we will only pass the experiment ID instead here, and we won't necessarily pass back and forth in entities in this one right here. That may be the best way to do it, and like that we don't need to worry about the implementation details of this, how we want to store this, but it will also require a bit more rework here. What do you all think about that approach? Is that something you would like to try? So I will kind of show you what I mean, and you can let me know if you agree or not. So what I'm thinking here is that we'll do that, copy all the entities over. We will say, okay, this is an Azure entity, and I will go ahead and fix this up just in a bit here. And we'll say, yep, that's an Azure entity to run. I love that I have so many experts online here for really good, awesome stuff, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Also, thank you so much for the follows of the stream. I was excited to make it to a Twitch affiliate actually last week. That was much appreciated. So I'll remove that. Since this is an Azure specific SDK now, we are moving the package reference to Azure Cosmos table to the specific one instead, and like that this should be working. There we go. Cool. So now we have to run into fix this issue instead here. So what we're saying is that let's not do this here. Let's change each of these all these interfaces here to instead take a GUID experiment ID. The best part of being early in development is you can do sweeping changes without breaking anyone in production, right? Cool. And instead of passing back a run here, we'll pass back GUID, because I think that's what you're going to pass back later as well here. Let's see what we're doing on the other side here. Let's clean this up real quick here. In this case here, what we'll do is GUID experiment ID, right? So we'll create our entity right here, which makes a bit more sense. And instead of returning an experiment here, what we'll return is this could be called experiment. This could be called experiment. Ooh. Is that the name we're passing here? What do we do here? Oh, it's a name actually. We're not passing the experiment ID here because that's going to be created for us. That makes sense. Okay. So we do want to pass a name here instead. This is one of the only places we do that. Let's call it name instead. It's self-explanatory. Perfect. So we'll pass a name in here. If we do that here, pass in name, we'll get an experiment. That's perfect. But now we want to pass back a GUID here because we want to pass back the ID. And what we'll go ahead and do here is return added experiment ID, right? Like that, we're compliant to the API here. So we need to do the same thing for all of these here. So this is going to be run ID. And I'll kind of walking through this pretty quickly because it's not so much fun to watch, I think. But if you want to stop anything and explain why I'm doing it more thoroughly, definitely kind of let me know, and I'm happy to go into that. And what we'll do here is now we just can return this directly. Experiment ID here. So we need to actually do this instead. And I'm glad you're learning a lot, user 2. No, thank you all for just joining today as well. The more I do this, the more fun I have with y'all. The only thing I wish is that I could do this full-time work and not do it on the side, because it's a lot of work, but it's just so rewarding to work on something that you're passionate about, and especially working on something you're passionate about with other people that also are passionate about it. That's something, it's just fun. Okay, let's do this. Create run async. So we need to pass back the run here instead, right? So instead of the run here, to adhere to the new API here, we'll pass back the API. This is kind of why I wanted to make sure we work on this this general SDK first a bit, so we get this general API for the SDK solidified a bit before we start moving too much to other implementations, because I think that will save us some rework time here. Okay, so we should be getting closer now. So now we have those set. Now we have to work on the metric here. So for the metric, we are creating that also, but we don't need to. We just need to pass in all of these things into this method right here instead. And let's create that on the other side. This is going to be much better actually. This is going to be less specific to an implementation, so we can actually have a separation of concern here. So I like this change. I like it a lot. Okay. It's a good idea to get started with this first before we make any other changes. So metric has been created, and that is passed in, so that's good. And we're just returning a task here because we don't really care about that, and all the other ones are private. So now what we need to do is see if we have these interfaces in a separate one here. So probably makes sense to break out the interfaces to a separate library, because we don't want to have this one depend on this one and vice versa here, because that's not going to be useful. Let's think about this a little bit here. First of all, how would we use this? So we have our lifecycle manager here now, that properly works, and I'm not sure if I actually downloaded. Oh, that's because I don't have the wrong product here. Oh, sorry. Close. I don't want to do that. Bring my changes to master. I want to bring down AJ's changes as well here, because he have changed where we have that that overload. Save all the things. So there we go. So now we have AJ's changes here as well here, and I think I probably broke something here. What did I change? Oh, okay. We have a conflict, of course. That's why. Okay. Let's resolve that conflict real quick here. Yeah, actually, Daniel, we had that discussion last time. Actually, it was interesting. We decided to go on double because the double in metrics. If you look at like the binary classifier result, it actually is a double. It's not a float. I'll show you in just a bit, Rudix, the GitHub UI here. Let me just resolve these conflicts here. But yeah, Daniel, I definitely hear you. I thought as well that it would be a float. I think what I'm going to do is just take our changes, because we're going to make some sweeping changes on all of these things here. And that'll be easier for us to work with. So Rudik, no. Do we have more conflicts? Okay, good. So Rutix, what I'm using here is called GitHub for Windows or desktop, I think. Let's see. GitHub desktop. There we go. It's just awesome. I like it a lot. You can definitely use the CLI if you want to. You can use an integration in a studio. You can use other things. But I really like this solution here. It makes it super simple to get things working and get you started early, quickly. But I still like merging properly in other places for sure. Okay. But no. Yeah. So it seems like we lost changes and this sucks. This sucks. I should have taken the latest first. Because we lost all of our changes here. Apart from the fact that we separated them out. These things work properly, so that's not an issue. The interface is changed, which is unfortunate. Alright, let me get that working real quick here. Apologies for that. It should be a quick change here. Experiment ID. And while I do this, you can think about what solution you want to do as well for our interfaces, because we need to separate them out in a good way. Name. There we go. Look at that. Interface done. Metrics. Let's go. So do you all think you're going to use this if we get it in a NuGet package? Do you think there's something that could be useful for what you're doing? New metric. Metric value. Metric. Perfect. I'll talk about that later, but for example right now you see that we are using the interface in our Azure specific one, right? But it lives here. So we will need this package to have a dependency on this package, because otherwise it won't be able to instantiate the right class of the storage account provider. However, we don't want the Azure package to have a circular reference back on this package here, just to fetch the interface. We want to separate those concerns here. So we need another project here to hold our interfaces that are common for both. I hope that makes sense, user 2. I'll dive into that in just a bit, otherwise. Good. Experiment ID. Okay. New experiment. Oh, new run, sorry. Run. Okay. So let's do added run here. And what we'll do is we'll go ahead and return the ID of this added run. Like that. And we'll pass back the GUID, because in that sense we should be good. Yes, Rudix, I think it's the other way around, because this is going to be the main package. Oh, actually you're right. No, you're right. It needs to depend on that package, right? Okay, let me hold off from the thought here a bit. You're right. It may have to depend on that. Let me finish this up real quick. I think you have a good thought here. I may be completely off, actually. And I appreciate that thought. Name. Okay. So what we'll do here is added experiment. And we'll return added experiment ID. Okay. Cool. So now we have at least fixed that. And we fixed that. And this is still not working. Is that because we have not saved this one, or what? Create experimental sync. Not sure what's going on here. Maybe it's the name here. Okay. Experiment. Alright, so we have that set up. So now we have to think about the dependencies here, right? So we currently have the interface in this class right here. And one of the things that we want to do here is we want to be able to set this properly. Yes, I think you're right. But we do want to create this general ML lifecycle manager for both here, because that's kind of where you will have these generic stuff here. So what I'm concerned about here is where we're going to create this one right here, and I wonder if we have to have a partial class for this or not. I'm kind of stuck in a thought right now. We want to see, like, because when we use this in our application, the way we do that is we create a new lifecycle manager. Exactly, yeah. So right now we pass in different things here. So we pass in a connection string, we want to use it. And we want to instantiate one of these classes here. And then we want to use it. So I'm thinking that we probably don't want to do anything specific here. Like, I think this one can be empty without a connection string here. I do want us to set this properly. In a good way. We can either make an extension method for that, I think, or we can make it because that one doesn't need to know about that. Okay, no, I think you're right. The dependency is going to go from Azure, the Azure package, to the general package. Exactly, Ritix. That's the $1,000,000 question, right? How do we want to do this? Yes, and I don't think we're going to use DI in this specific instance. This is it's a command line NuGet package here. So I think let me show you kind of what I'm thinking here, and you can let me know if you have another idea here. So right now we need something else to do this. So for example, we can have let's just try this approach right here. Lifecycle manager extensions, and let's see if this is actually something that's going to work or not. what I'm thinking here is and then this, and we'll live. Let's add a reference here. So if we add dependency here, product reference, to this one, we go ahead and copy this one. And why can't I do that? It's because it's internal. No? Public. Oh, it's fine. Okay, good. We can see that already. So I'm thinking something like this. Passing in both that one as that one. And let's see, what would that be? And then setting that in some way here. So like in our case, we would make this a property instead, or rather than anything else here. I'm not sure if this is the best approach. I'll let you all know that directly, but I'm trying to think. Make this public. And instead of doing this, we'll go ahead and remove this completely. We'll keep it as a simple empty constructor. We will do yeah, exactly. So we have to figure out what the default behavior is going to be here, Rudix, for sure. If we're doing this approach, we definitely have to figure out if we want to do some kind of default behavior here or not. I personally think that what we'll just do is before we call any of these methods here, we would check if this is null or not and make it a sanity check and say please select your storage provider first. Yes, well, it could for sure. I'm thinking what I want. Let me finish my thought there first, and this is a great discussion, guys. Appreciate your input here. Let me finish this so we can at least see how it would look like. So what I'm thinking is something like this, right? Storage, and then return this. Let's see, why is that not working? Oh, return. This one. Yeah, sorry. Okay. So what I'm thinking of doing is something like this. Yeah, it's I think that's what we have to do though, because it's like a SDK package rather than anything else, and we don't necessarily need to instantiate things too much. But it's a great point, Rudix. So we can make this a little bit smarter as well. Because we can change the accessibility of this property as well to make it internal, and then make internal visible only for the other one. And like that, we can't set it from outside this package. So what I'm thinking is something like this. So and we can look at the use case here. And let's see. I think what I want to do is build this pretty soon, and check this. Does that? Let's see if we can build it first of all. Okay, we still have some things here. Okay. So we have to move this one over as well. It doesn't belong here. This is an Azure specific to make sure our storage account is working. And if you like the music, it's the Carl Franklin music to code by that I'm playing. Makes me at least focused a bit. Alright, so that's succeeded. So does it kind of make sense what I'm trying to achieve here? Or is it like completely off and you want to change everything? Because if it does make sense, I would like to kind of try to build a package here, consume this, and see like how it feels like at least. Because I think we have to go back and forth a couple times here to something that works. I think what we're going to do here is do number 7 here. And then the same thing here is we probably want to make this a package 2. Just copy this over. That sounds good. Move this one. Yeah, sounds good. I agree with it. So let's consume this one. So let's go ahead and pack this up here. I think we can pack this one by itself. Okay, so now let's consume this one because we have the app already set up here. So all we need to do in here would be to say, actually, I want to install. Let's install it properly to see if we get the other one as well. I'm not really sure how it's going to behave when it comes to dependencies here, because now we have 2 packages. So we see here we have we should have more than 1 package. I guess depends on where I point my source to. Options. So I have a local NuGet source here that I point to, and I already have it here, but it's going to, okay, it's going to the bin folder of the specific one right here. So let's go ahead and add the other one as well as a local source here. Okay. So we want to go. So now we have this one too. Sure. So what way would you suggest, Ridix? Yeah, I know. That's what I should do. I know. I have actually one of those. It's just I'm being lazy when we have 1 package, because like that I don't need to go and copy it over all the time. But let's do that. You're right. Let's be good. It's just every time I have a change, I need to copy it over, which is takes forever. So I have a package feed right here, calling me out on things, being lazy here. Oh yeah, I know, scripted, but yeah, I guess we can do that later. Given that I don't want to take too much time on this stream for that right now, I will not script it, but I definitely would appreciate if someone wants to do that for us, because that would definitely save us some time. It could be a build action, I think, as part of building this specific solution right here instead, actually. Let's see. Let me copy that other one over. So like when we build this specific solution, we can do that. Let me pack the one up as well. It's a great suggestion though. We should definitely automate this to work a bit faster for our purposes. Alright, so we have copied them over here. Remove that one. Got our 2 NuGet packages going. And I think I have a local source set up. No, I don't. Okay. So let's go ahead and let me add a new one instead. No, let me remove the one we have. This one. Let me point that to my local feed here. NuGet. Select. Okay. Refresh this one, hopefully. Okay, now we have 2 here. Perfect. So let's install this one, because this one should bring the other one with it, I think. Yep, looks like it's behaving as expected here. Great. Alright, so now we have the new things working here. So what we did here, right, is that we removed the connection string from the constructor. So we don't need that anymore. But if you run it now, it's not going to work. So what we need to do here is use Azure storage instead and pass in the connection string like this. So this is kind of what I'm envisioning we're doing instead for these things. So we have that as separate NuGet package. So if you want that, you have to do that. But we do need to create some kind of failsafe here to make sure that you actually instantiate a provider as well. We can call it use Azure Storage Provider if you want to make that make more sense here. But apart from that, I don't think we change much of the general look and feel, because we only change things underneath the surface on how we pass things back and forth. But should we go ahead and clean up in Azure real quick in a storage and then try to run this and see if this works for us? I think that would make the most sense, at least right now. I was thinking I can just remove all these tables to make sure that when it will see it from scratch here. And we'll do a test run here. So okay, so I'm expecting now, if we run this one, I'm expecting our tables to be created and things kind of working as expected here. And that should be good. Let's see. Okay, we have a checkpoint here. Hopefully that won't explode. It didn't explode. I like things doesn't explode. But that exploded. Okay. So why did I explode? Conflicts. Okay. View details. What was the conflict here? Stack trace. I thought we kind of removed those things from here. This is shoot message. Sorry about this. We can make it a bit smaller so we can see something here. That's better. Alright, so what do we have as an issue here? And that's not very helpful. So yeah, we can't really, we have to set up the debugging locally if you want to go straight into it though. It's a great point, Ridix, but we have to set up local debugging for the NuGet repository, which we can do. Let's look at this one real quick to see. Line 46 is the storage account metadata store. And why that is something we're running into. So creating not exist is the issue here. So creating a table of not exist. So have we what is this? Let me clean this up as well. I feel like something is going on here. Let's run this one more time. This is fishy. Because we haven't really changed anything underlying, and this used to work before. So I'm a little bit surprised that suddenly stopped working. So right now we have metadata store here. We have the, oh look at that, key hidden. How nice. It's like it knew that I was streaming. Okay, that worked. So it just may have been like an issue, I guess, with eventual consistency, because we were backing this with Cosmos DB, and I removed the tables, but it may have not removed it completely if it was distributing that in multiple nodes. Let's just say that. Sounds very smart. So let's say that's the excuse for this, and let's focus on the things here. If it doesn't work first time, try again, and it may work the second time, right? Isn't that like the life of a developer? Throw out really complex terms and like pretend you know what you're saying, and then hopefully that makes sense. I feel like I do that every day. The only issue with on stream is that I may be called out by smarter people like you guys. Alright, so that worked. And now we train a model, so now we're gonna log the metrics, and if this is working as expected, we should have tables here for these changes here. Yeah, exactly. You can sound like an expert to this without actually knowing anything. Alright, look at that. So it still works, and it works just fine. So that's really good. So I personally feel pretty good about how we use this right here. The only thing I want to add is add a couple of checks here, so we can have a generic check to make sure we have actually instantiated this properly. And I also want to check the accessibility of this one. But do you in general otherwise feel comfortable with the architecture we've set up here for separating out different storage providers? Cool. And I appreciate a lot your input. Actually, you were completely right that we don't need to have dependency both ways or changing anything here. So what I was thinking we could do is here is, and I think what you do usually in these kind of repositories is you have a general class for these kind of checks here, but we'll just do one right here. We'll do like ensure configure or something like that. Configured. I don't know, that's a good name, I guess. And what I want to do here is I want to just do this. If metadata store equals null, throw new invalid operation exception. Storage provider has not been properly set up. Please, well, I think we'll start with that, I guess. And what we'll do here is just call this one here on each one of these. So in case, please see documentation. That's a good one. Actually, let me do this. Please call Rutix, Daniel, and user. Should you have any question? There you go. Better? I'm gonna check this in. Just so you know. Alright, so that looks pretty good, and I like that. So what I wanted to do as well is that we don't want like the user to, and yes, I think we can definitely upload a sample as well on this one. Please working on that. Well, okay, give me your phone number, Daniel. I'll add it. Alright, I want to make sure we don't set the meta store by mistake, because right now it's public, so anyone can really set it, right? We don't need to do it from the library, and I don't really like that. So what we'll do is, I think we can do internal set here, and what we need to do as well here is probably make that possible for this one to do it here. So we'll add, I can't remember the syntax, but I think it's like a property group and internal visible here. Let's Google the correct syntax real quick here. Visible.core. And never forget the proper syntax. Here we go. Exactly, yeah. So we'll go ahead and say we want this internal visible to mlops.net. We don't want assembly attribute though, that's not going to be useful. Is it just internal visible? Is that it? Oh, it's... Oh, sorry, it's this one. It's not an assembly attribute though, is it? Let's try that real quick. Okay, so let's see. Does that build? Ah, wrong project. That's why. Sorry. It should be here, and it should be envelopes.net Azure. Yes, perfect. Alright, so what we've done now is to make sure that you can only set this metadata store from within the library. You can't do it from a client, which is useful. So we make sure we don't mess with this if you shouldn't mess with it. So should we go ahead and create a PR for this change maybe, and push it to the repo at least? What's okay. What's the con for this, Ridix? Love to hear it. Do I? No, we don't need actually. So the cool thing. Oh yeah, that's true. That is true. We have to make it open for that. That is true. That's not ideal, I guess. So every time we make a new implementation, we have to change internal visible here for it. Is there a better way you can think of right now? .NET Bunky? Yeah. I think I get what you mean, Ridix. That if we create like a envelopes.net AWS, right? We have to add open this one up for that, which it's definitely not ideal because we should be closed, right, for change here. The alternative here is that we make that property public, and the issue with that is that anyone can set it, even from outside the client. Which, it's not the whole world, I guess. It's just not exactly what I would like to see, at least. Is there... yeah. Are you completely against... I have to change this? In general, I think from a library perspective, and I'm not a big tool library builder, so I can't speak from experience too much. But you definitely want things internal if you can. Yeah, we could definitely set that into method. The only thing with the method is that it's going to have the same issue when it comes to, accessibility. If it's a method, if it's a property, it's going to be the same issue we run into. But I hear your concern, Ridix, and for now we can make it public and just leave it open if that's okay. And I'm good with that. It's just right now we're still in the alpha version, and we can think of a better solution, I guess, going forward as well. So we'll just make this public set for now. That is fine. All right, we're gonna iterate over this anyway. So let's create an issue for this, because I don't know if we have an issue open for this yet. We may want to create that. Thank you, Ridix. I appreciate that. Definitely have a look at it. So let's see. Do we have a good? I'll create a new issue for this. Separate out the Azure implementation in a separate package. Let's give it a name. Okay. So that's issue number 17. So let's create a branch for that. Azure MLOps.net. Azure, right? Create a branch for that. Bring my changes. And let's clean up some of our non-required things here. So we have moved these ones over, which is fine. That's perfect. Created extension. It's all good. Sounds good, Ridix. Thank you for tuning in. I'll catch you next time. Alright. Alright, so we have our assembly info here. We'll ignore these things here because they're not needed. So we'll go ahead and put them away. This is because we created a new project here. And why are they still here? Maybe it's because we have more. And why don't you go away? Okay. Let's look at that a bit later. Can I refresh this? Yes. What have you done? Okay. I'm so scared of messing this up right now. I want to get this checked in before we do anything else here. And if you're new to the channel and don't follow me yet, definitely hit that follow button, and that would be much appreciated. You get notified when I go online next time and work on this solution. Thanks, Dan. Glad to have you on the chat today. Catch you later. And why is this not working here? So I want to ignore these files because we don't want them checked in, but my git ignore is not ignore them as I want them to be ignored. And that is hindering me from doing any work here. This is removed, this is removed. Actually, let's, for now, let's just not check them in. And we'll fix that later. We don't need those. Okay, we have this one added, this one added, this one added. Yeah, I was thinking, I don't think I need to add that necessarily, user 2. There should be general for both. I think there's something going on with that one though. But I don't want to take your time for that right now, so I'm going to not check them in, and I will look at that a bit later. Perfect, we have the storage account here. These are things we just moved and updated, right? We added a new product to solution. We removed the old ones here. We cleaned up our lifecycle manager. And we did that. Okay. Created Azure. Okay. mlops.net Azure. And we can go ahead and push this. Authentication fails. Okay. I just changed my password. I think that's the issue. Let's see. Come on. It's not what I wanted. Okay, let me put down a screen on here, so while I do this real quick here. Sorry about that, guys. Let's get ourselves kind of logged into GitHub here. Get the passcode here as well. 1 second, everyone. All right. Why is that not working? 2.5. All right, so that should be good. Let me get back to here. Hopefully this will work. Let's open up a PR for this. Create PR. Perfect. So what we'll do here is always say fixes and then tag the issue, because like that it will close it by itself when we're done, which is kind of nice. And we'll do enhancement here. And we'll see kind of how this looks like. So we added things to the git ignore thing here. That looks good. We created a new namespace for these things because we moved them to our separate package, right? That looks good. We created this extension method. We created a new project. We fixed everything to just passing GUI instead. And we should have also removed some things here. We did remove this one. I think in general, okay, good. This is how it shows it. We moved it. So I think this is good. Any comments you have on this PR before I go ahead and merge it to the master branch? This is your time to speak up. So this is we currently have the issue 17 branch right here, and I want to merge it to the master branch. So I open a PR from the issue 17 branch. So when I hit merge pull request now, it's going to go into the master branch here, and that will be so you all can also download it and continue working from that kind of base, if that makes sense. Okay, I'm going to merge this one. And like that, we have everything in master. Cool. All right, so we at least fixed that now. So now we have 2 packages that we want to, and we get that set up. So it's a good structure. So anything else we want to work on here, we can then use that structure from there. And we have status badge. We did that earlier today as well. So one thing we could do now is look at the alpha package here if we wanted to. So we could think about uploading these packages to NuGet, so you all can also use them in your flow, and we, instead of having them locally, we can actually have them on the NuGet repository and use them. Is that something you would like to do and try? I've never done it before, so I don't know exactly how to do it, but we can definitely try for sure if someone wants to do that. Okay, so user 2, I think the reason why I want to do it is because we have this, actually I agree with you, with what you're saying, is that we have this, let's go back to Chrome actually, because that will have a better idea of where I want to go. We have this review predictor repo already. So this one is the repo I'm looking at all the time when I'm like thinking about this flow right here. The change here is I haven't pushed these changes right, so I haven't implemented these things right here because the NuGet package is not currently in a repository we can use it. So if we push the NuGet package to the NuGet repository, I could then push the changes to the predictor, and that could be the example repo. Exactly, yeah, that's exactly what I want to do here. Exactly. So, but the thing that's hindering me from pushing that changes are the NuGet repository. So let's try. I mean, it's worth trying, right? I think I am signing in here, so let's do that. Let's see if this works properly or not. La la la. Okay, I'll change screen here real quick here while I make sure to log in here. Thank you for your patience. Let's see if I get an email or not here. And why don't I get... Okay, here we go. Let me just log into NuGet here. So the project is not in a solution actually. It's a separate solution, user 2, and it's not actually... So when we try it locally, what we did was actually building the package and using it, but from a local source. Okay. So let me go back here and show you. So when we have used this right now, we don't actually have the review predictor anywhere here. Right? It's not here. It's a different solution that I open up here. And that solution, we also don't have that reference here. So the reference that we're using is actually a NuGet reference. If I look at the project file here, it's a package reference directly to the NuGet package. So we build the package locally, we put it in a local feed, and we use it locally. So you can all do that, of course, if you wanted to, but I can't really push changes to this without having it in the NuGet main repo first. So what I was thinking is we can upload it here instead, and just get this up and going, and see if this works. I don't know exactly how this would work, but we can try. So it would be most likely in here, and what I want to do is upload these two here. Actually, this one. Okay, so we need some more information here, which makes sense. We don't have enough info on these packages yet here, so we need to add license information and other things, which we get, and then we can get up and working in the repo here. But unfortunately, I do have to kind of stop for today. I have to go back to my regular life, if you will, and continue working, pays the bills. But this has been really good today. Thank you all for joining. Is there anything I can help you with so far that if you want to get started, with the repo and working on it, is there anything I can help answer today so you can do that if you wanted to? Daniel on YouTube and others on the stream today. I want to make sure I unblock you if you have something specific. Cool. Yeah, I think local storage is good. If you want to work on this, exactly, Daniel, just pull down both of these repos and build it locally like I did, and work on local storage. And I will continue looking at the package a bit. We can fix that next time as well. Yep. Cool. All right. Well, everyone, thank you for tuning in again today. It's always so much fun kind of working with you all. Let's keep building on this one and keep having good ideas, as you already did today, with ways on the web client and ways for SDK and things you want to build. It's really inspiring, I guess, to see the enthusiasm here and all of ideas that you have how to create this and make it better. So let's do it together. Open source software, right? Thank you all for today. Have a fantastic day, and I will talk to you in a couple of days. All right. Bye, everyone.